Hello, my name is Tony Mays. I am the Commonwealth of Learning's Education Specialist for Open Schooling. I want to take this opportunity to explain why open schooling is important, what it involves, and how we at COL can support you in open schooling. Let us begin by thinking about the needs. Our current approach to open schooling was informed by information provided by UNESCO, which showed that 263 million children and youth were out of school in 2014, and that efforts to reduce these numbers had plateaued. As you can see, the graph has flattened out. There was need to find new ways to think about how to provide open schooling at a systemic level. So we began to work with ministries of education and institution to explore new models of provision. More recently, UNICEF reported that the number of out-of-school children and youth is actually over 300 million. UNICEF also noted that about a third of these children and youth are in conflict zones. If we are to reach these children, we need a model that is not tied to bricks and mortar. More recently still, the Global Education Monitoring Report of 2020 indicated global issues related to access, equity, and quality of learning achievement. With respect to access, it should be noted that globally, only 88% of children complete primary school, only 72% complete lower secondary school, and only 53% of youth complete upper secondary school. In terms of equity, there has been progress globally towards gender parity in education, but still only 2 in 3 countries have achieved gender parity at the primary level, 1 in 2 at the lower secondary level, and only 1 in 4 at the upper secondary level. And in terms of quality of learning, in 1 out of 4 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, more than half of students at the end of primary school achieve below the minimum proficiency level in reading. So when we're thinking about open schooling and all these different needs, we'll need to think about where to start. Who will be our initial target audience? Will it be out-of-school children at the primary level, where we will need to think about ways to support homeschooling? Will it be out-of-school children at the secondary level, where we can maybe use blended learning and contact-supported learning? Are we interested in addressing the needs of not in employment, not in education and training, young people in the 18 to 23 year category? Do we want to bring in adult learners who need a second opportunity? And what about children, youth and adults with special educational needs or other constraints to accessing educational opportunities? Where do we begin? So let us now begin to think about the model or models for open schooling. There is no one right model. Models evolve as we learn from practice in context, and they can be complementary to the system, using the same curricula, using the same assessment strategy, or they can be alternative. So, for example, a more vocational focus for youth and adults. However it evolves, if we get the fit right, we should see increased enrollment of learners, reduced dropout, and improved learner achievement. That in turn should see more learners progressing into employment or to education and training, and so the beginning of a cycle of sustainable development through learning. When these children and youth and adults become parents themselves, having had success in schooling, they are more likely to support their own children to access schooling, whether this is by traditional means or through open schooling. And so we can complete this cycle, continually improving enrollment, retention, throughput, and progression. The recent closure of school campuses due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the hesitancy about reopening means we can probably expect to see a range of models working together in future. Possibly face-to-face for very young learners needing to socialize, maybe a blend of contact and online for older learners, and open schooling using open distance and e-learning methods for those unable or unwilling to access campus-based provision. Whatever the model, we advocate the use of open educational resources to overcome financial barriers and to help improve diversity and quality. We advocate the use of open distance and e-learning methods to maximize flexibility and decentralized support. And we support open educational practices to harness the power of collaborative engagement and creativity. This, of course, will need to align with personal and institutional vision and mission. In most developing countries, relatively high costs of internet and devices militate against going fully online from the start. So in most countries, we still have some form of center-based model, but with more and more of the learning and teaching happening online. In such an approach, there is need for a strong central online platform, supporting in turn a network of decentralized support centers. This slide shows a little bit more detail about the different strategies that different countries are using. So, for example, at the central level, we would tend to see there the curriculum and content development and renewal. In hub schools in cities and towns, we might see after-hours, weekend and holiday classes being offered, and we might see them as distribution centers for low-cost tablets and phones and the replacement of printed text. In the cluster schools, supported by the hub schools, or other venues such as church venues in rural areas, we again might see after-hours, weekend and holiday support classes, and we might also see the use of radio and TV to reach the furthest or most marginalized learners. At the core, regardless of the model, teachers need to think about the strategies for providing access to content, providing support, whether it's center-based, mobile or online, and to reimagine or imagine different ways of managing assessment and feedback. So, for example, through the use of quizzes, portfolios and rubrics, and then in turn badges, micro-credentials, and in time, blockchain technology. What support can COL offer? We can assist with mapping curriculum and existing resources into a common platform. We can help train teachers to work with OER. We can help train teachers in how to facilitate the OER that they create during contact sessions, whether these are online or face-to-face. We can help teachers in the development and use of alternative assessment. We can support managers with the development and use of monitoring and evaluation instruments, the analysis and interpretation of data, and we can help institutions and countries think through models and budgets for scaling provision. COL has developed over the years a number of useful resources that you might like to access by clicking on the links. Some of them are linked directly to the Open and Innovative Schooling portfolio on the website. Some of them are OER resources and reports, and you might also like to visit the Commonwealth Open Schooling Association website, where you can connect with other people interested in open schooling. I thank you for listening, and I hope that you have found this a useful introduction to open schooling and the work of COL.